In 1947, a Franciscan monk named Father Augusto Bellini woke up in the middle of the night with his hands trembling. He had just finished translating an Aramaic manuscript found in the catacombs of the Vatican, and what he discovered made him question everything he believed about prayer. There was a word, a single word, that Jesus spoke only once in his entire earthly life, recorded in only one verse in the entire Bible, and this word had the power to open doors that no conventional prayer could. Before I continue, tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now. I want to know how many people around the world are about to discover the same secret that Father Bellini discovered almost 80 years ago. The word is Ephphatha. Mark chapter 7 verse 34. Jesus was standing before a deaf and mute man. The crowd expected another conventional miracle, another demonstration of divine power through long and elaborate prayers. But Jesus did something different. He put his fingers in the man's ears, touched his tongue with saliva, looked up to heaven, and whispered just one word, Ephphatha. In Aramaic it means be opened, and everything opened. The man's ears, his mouth, his entire life. But here's what nobody told you. Jesus didn't shout this word. He didn't proclaim it loudly to impress the crowd. He whispered it. Why? Because Ephphatha is not a word of public demonstration. It's a word of intimate power. It's the master key of the spiritual realm, and Jesus knew its use should be reserved, silent, personal. Father Bellini discovered something even more disturbing. In the Vatican's secret archives, there were records of saints and mystics who used Ephphatha in critical moments of their lives. Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint John of the Cross, Padre Pio, all of them knew this word. All of them whispered it in their moments of greatest need. But there was a clear instruction in all the documents. Ephphatha should not be taught to the masses, not because it's dangerous, but because it requires absolute faith, and absolute faith cannot be manufactured. That's why you never heard about this in church. That's why no priest ever taught this in Sunday sermons. That's why, when you search for Ephphatha on the internet, you find only cold academic references about Aramaic linguistics, but never the practical application that transformed the lives of countless people over the centuries. Let me tell you about Maria Adelaide, a 63-year-old woman from Lisbon who, in 2019, was about to lose her home. She had prayed all the rosaries she knew. She had done novenas to all the saints. She had lit candles in all the churches in the city. Nothing. The doors remained closed. Banks refused renegotiation. Creditors had no mercy. She was 3 days away from eviction. That's when her grandson, a theology student, brought her a printed copy from an obscure internet forum. Someone had shared Father Bellini's manuscript. Maria Adelaide read about Ephphatha at 3 in the morning on a Tuesday. She had nothing to lose. She locked herself in the bathroom for absolute privacy, knelt on the cold tile floor, closed her eyes, and whispered Ephphatha, Ephphatha. She repeated it 9 times. Why 9? Because 9 is the number of divine completion in biblical numerology. 9 months of gestation, 9 fruits of the Holy Spirit. Jesus died at the 9th hour. Maria Adelaide whispered Ephphatha 9 times in absolute silence, with her hands open over her chest, feeling each syllable vibrate inside her, E-PPH-THA. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for a specific miracle. She just asked for doors to open. Any door God wanted to open. The next morning her phone rang at 7:15. It was an unknown number. A lawyer she had never met said she was calling on behalf of a distant aunt that Maria didn't even know existed. The aunt had passed away and left an inheritance. It wasn't a fortune, but it was exactly the amount Maria needed to pay off her debts and keep the house. Coincidence? Maria Adelaide didn't think so. Neither did the other 247 people who, since then, have shared their stories in private forums, secret prayer groups, and direct messages to open-minded priests around the world. Ephphatha is not magic. It's not superstition. It's a spiritual frequency. It's the same word that Jesus himself used when he needed to open the impossible. And now you know. You need to understand something fundamental about Aramaic. It wasn't just the language Jesus spoke that was the language of spiritual power in the ancient world. Every word in Aramaic carries a specific vibration, a sound frequency that, according to mystical scholars, interacts directly with the human energy field. Jewish Kabbalists knew this, early Christians knew this, and the Vatican, to this day, keeps this wisdom under lock and key. Ephphatha is composed of 4 sounds, E-PPH-etha. The E is an open vowel that, when pronounced with intention, expands the energy of the throat chakra. It's the sound of expression, of truth being released. The PPH is a fricative consonant that creates friction, symbolizing the breaking of resistance. The A is a repetition that amplifies this breaking. And Tha is an explosive sound, a sudden release, like a door being forced open. When you whisper Ephphatha, you're not just saying a word, you're executing a sonic ritual of opening. But here's what Father Bellini discovered that changed everything. In the original manuscripts, there were specific instructions that were never translated into modern Bibles. Jesus didn't simply say Ephphatha and that was it. He did 3 things before pronouncing the word. First, he physically touched the person. Second, he looked up to heaven, connecting with the divine source. Third, he sighed deeply as if he were loading the word with his own vital energy. This is not just symbolic, it's instructional. For Ephphatha to work the way it worked for Maria Adelaide and hundreds of other people, you need to replicate this process. You need to understand that it's not the word alone that opens doors. It's the word charged with intention, faith, and divine connection. Let me tell you about Ricardo, a businessman from São Paulo who, in 2021, was on the verge of bankruptcy. He had an import company that, due to the pandemic and customs problems, was accumulating impossible debts to pay. Ricardo wasn't religious. He was raised Catholic, but hadn't set foot in a church for 20 years. When his wife told him about Ephphatha, he laughed. He thought it was ridiculous. But she insisted, and on a night of absolute desperation, he decided to try. Ricardo made every possible mistake on the first attempt. He said Ephphatha out loud, as if giving an order. He said it without faith, just as a skeptical experiment. He said it once, and expected something magical to happen immediately. Nothing happened. He laughed at himself and went to sleep thinking his wife was delusional. But 3 nights later, at 3 in the morning, Ricardo woke up with a strange feeling in his chest. It wasn't anxiety, it wasn't fear, it was something different. It was as if someone was telling him, try again, but this time, do it right. He went to his home office, locked the door, turned off the lights, and lit a single candle. He knelt down, placed his hands over his heart, and for the first time in 2 decades, spoke with God. It wasn't an eloquent prayer, it was honest. It was broken, he said. I don't know if you're there. I don't know if this works, but I'm desperate. If there's any door you can open for me, please open it. And then he whispered Ephphatha. He whispered it 9 times, pausing between each repetition to breathe deeply, feeling the word vibrate in his chest, in his throat, in his mind. On the 9th time, something happened. He didn't see a vision. He didn't hear an audible voice, but he felt an overwhelming peace, an inexplicable certainty that something had changed in the spiritual world. 5 days later, Ricardo received an email from a German importer he had contacted months before without response. The German was interested in an immediate partnership. It wasn't exactly what Ricardo expected, but it was the opening he needed. In 6 months, the company was stabilized. In 1 year, it was profitable again. Ricardo now teaches Ephphatha to anyone willing to listen, but he always says the same thing. Ephphatha is not a magic trick, it's a key, but you need to be at the right door, with the right intention, at the right time, and that's the point most people don't understand. Ephphatha doesn't force God to do your will. Ephphatha aligns your will with God's will, and in that alignment, the doors that should be open finally open. Now let's talk about the dark side of Ephphatha. Yes, there is a dark side, not because the word is dangerous, but because people use it wrong. And when you use a spiritual key the wrong way, you don't just fail to open the door, you can lock yourself even deeper inside. Father Bellini documented 3 fatal mistakes he observed in people who tried to use Ephphatha without proper guidance. These mistakes are subtle but devastating. If you make any of them, Ephphatha won't work. Worse still, you may start doubting not just the word, but the very existence of God. Mistake number 1, Ephphatha pronounced with doubt. It seems obvious, but it's the most common mistake. People whisper Ephphatha while thinking, this probably won't work. They say the word, but their minds are screaming disbelief. And here's the brutal truth. Ephphatha doesn't respond to your mouth. Ephphatha responds to your heart. Jesus said in Mark 11:23, whoever says to this mountain, be lifted up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Notice he didn't say not doubt in your mind. He said not doubt in your heart. Your mind will doubt. That's normal. But your heart needs to be anchored in unshakable faith. Clarissa, a nurse from Belo Horizonte, tried Ephphatha 17 times without results. She was trying to open financial doors to pay for her mother's surgeries. She said the word perfectly. She followed all the instructions, but nothing happened. It was only when she realized that, deep in her heart, she didn't believe she deserved to be helped, that things changed. Clarissa had a subconscious belief that God helped others, but not her, that she wasn't special enough, that her past sins disqualified her from divine grace. This belief, hidden in the depths of her heart, was sabotaging every attempt to use Ephphatha when she finally confronted that lie. When she cried before God and said, I accept that I am worthy of your love, Ephphatha began to work. 3 days later, a government program she didn't know existed approved full funding for her mother's surgeries. Mistake number 2, Ephphatha used as a bargain. Many people treat Ephphatha as if it were a commercial contract with God. They say, I'll whisper Ephphatha and you'll give me money, or I'll do this 9 times and you'll give me a job. That's not faith. That's manipulation. And God is not manipulable. Ephphatha is not a bargaining chip, it's a surrender. When you whisper Ephphatha, you're saying, God, I recognize there are closed doors in my life that only you can open. I trust you know which doors should be opened and when. I surrender to your wisdom. Fernando, a lawyer from Rio de Janeiro, made this mistake for 6 months. He used Ephphatha every day, asking for a specific multi-million-dollar case. He wanted to win that case because it would make him famous, rich and powerful. He wasn't asking for God's will. He was trying to use God for his own glory. The case never came. It was only when Fernando lost everything, when he was humiliated professionally and financially, when he finally stopped trying to control his life and started asking, God, open the doors you want to open, not the ones I want to open, that his life began to change. The doors that opened weren't the ones he expected, but they were the ones he really needed. Mistake number 3. Ephphatha pronounced without action. This is the most insidious of the 3 mistakes. People think Ephphatha is a magic word that will do all the work for them. They whisper the word and then sit on the couch waiting for the universe to deliver everything on a silver platter. That's spiritual laziness disguised as faith. Ephphatha opens doors, but you need to walk to them. James 2:17 says, "Faith without works is dead." When you whisper Ephphatha, you're activating divine favor. But you still need to act in faith. You need to send that resume. You need to make that call. You need to have that difficult conversation. Ephphatha doesn't replace your responsibility. Ephphatha amplifies your obedience. Now that you know what not to do, let me teach you what to do. This is the exact protocol that Father Bellini reconstructed from the Vatican manuscripts. The same protocol that Maria Adelaide, Riccardo, Clarissa, and hundreds of others used successfully. First, choose the right time. Ephphatha is not a casual prayer. It's not something you say while driving or washing dishes. Ephphatha requires intentionality. Christian mystics always knew there are times of day when the veil between the natural and supernatural is thinner. 3 in the morning, 6 in the morning, noon, 3 in the afternoon, the hour Jesus died, 9 at night. Choose one of these times and be consistent. Your spirit needs to create a sacred routine. Second, prepare the environment. You don't need anything elaborate, but you need silence and privacy. Turn off your phone, lock the door, light a candle if it helps you focus, but it's not mandatory. The important thing is to eliminate distractions. Ephphatha requires your full attention. Third, position your body. Father Bellini discovered that physical posture directly affects spiritual receptivity. Kneel if you can. If you can't, kneel due to health issues. Sit upright with your hands open over your chest or palms facing up on your thighs. The posture of physical openness mirrors the spiritual openness you're requesting. Fourth, connect with heaven. Before pronouncing Ephphatha, close your eyes and visualize a golden light descending from heaven and entering through the top of your head. This isn't New Age mystical visualization. It's a focus exercise that helps you remember that the power of Ephphatha doesn't come from you. It comes from above. Fifth, breathe deeply 3 times. Inhale through your mouth, counting to 4. Hold your breath, counting to 4. Exhale, counting to 4. Do this 3 times. This calms your nervous system and puts you in a state of receptivity. Sixth, and this is the crucial step, declare your need with brutal honesty. Don't be religious. Don't use pompous language. Talk to God like you would talk to a father who loves you. Say, "Father, I need doors to open in my life. I need financial provision, or I need physical healing, or I need reconciliation in my marriage." Be specific, but always end with, "But your will be done, not mine." Seventh, now you're ready to whisper Ephphatha. Don't shout. Don't speak in a normal tone of voice. Whisper an intimate whisper, as if you were sharing a precious secret. Ephphatha, feel each syllable. Let the word vibrate in your throat, in your chest, in your spirit. Eighth, repeat 9 times, not 8, not 10, 9, and between each repetition, pause for 5 seconds, breathe, feel, don't rush. Quality over quantity. Ninth, after the 9th repetition, don't get up immediately. Stay in silence for at least 3 minutes. Listen. You may not hear an audible voice, but you may feel an impression, a peace, a thought that isn't yours. Pay attention. 10th, give thanks. Even before seeing any results, give thanks. Give thanks because you know something changed in the spiritual realm, even if nothing has changed yet in the natural realm. And 11th, most importantly, act in faith. In the next 24 hours, do something you wouldn't do if you didn't believe Ephphatha worked. Send that email, make that phone call, take that step of obedience you were avoiding. Sophia, a graphic designer from Porto, followed this protocol exactly. She had been trying to land a big client for 2 years without success. She whispered Ephphatha for 9 consecutive nights. On the 10th morning, she woke up with a clear impression: redo your portfolio and send it again. She didn't want to. She had already sent her portfolio 3 times, but she obeyed. She redid everything, made it bolder, more personal, sent it again. The client responded in 2 hours. Not only did he agree to work with her, but he recommended her to 2 other clients. In 3 months, Sophia's income tripled. Ephphatha opened the door, but Sophia had to walk through it. There are stories about Ephphatha that were never officially documented, but that circulate in close circles of open-minded priests, mystical nuns, and deeply spiritual lay people. Stories that, if widely known, would change the way we understand prayer, faith, and the very fabric of spiritual reality. One of these stories involves Sister Lucia dos Santos, the famous seer of Fatima. What few know is that, in 1943, during World War II, Sister Lucia was in deep spiritual anguish. Portugal was under Salazar's dictatorship, war was devastating Europe, and she felt her prayers weren't reaching heaven. In one of her meetings with a Jesuit confessor, he taught her Ephphatha. He explained it was the same word Jesus used to open the ears of the deaf man, and that it could be used to open God's ears when prayers seemed blocked. Sister Lucia began using Ephphatha before each of her intercessory prayers for world peace. In her personal diary, which remains kept at the convent of Coimbra, she wrote, "Since I began whispering the sacred word, I feel my prayers pierce the veil differently. It's not that God wasn't listening before. It's that I wasn't praying with the authority Jesus gave us. 3 months later, there was an inexplicable turn in the war that military historians still can't fully explain today. Coincidence. Sister Lucia didn't believe in coincidences. Another story involves Padre Pio, the famous stigmatized saint. Padre Pio was known for his healing miracles, but what few know is that he had a particular ritual before praying for someone with a terminal illness. He would whisper 3 words in Aramaic, Ephphatha, Talitha cum, which means little girl, arise. The words Jesus used to resurrect Jairus' daughter, and Eloi Eloi lama sabachthani, the words Jesus said on the cross. Padre Pio called these 3 phrases the Aramaic keys of divine power. He never taught this publicly because he knew people would try to use them as magic formulas. But for those who came to him with genuine faith and true desperation, he shared the secret. A man named Giovanni, who was in terminal stage lung cancer in 1966, went to Padre Pio asking for a miracle. Padre Pio looked deeply into his eyes and asked, "Do you believe the same God who opened the Red Sea can open your doors of healing?" Giovanni said yes. Padre Pio then taught him Ephphatha. Giovanni whispered Ephphatha every day for 40 days. On the 41st day, he went for follow-up exams. The cancer had completely disappeared. Doctors couldn't explain it. Giovanni lived another 32 years and died at 87 from natural causes. But perhaps the most impactful story is that of Mother Teresa of Calcutta. In 1979, Mother Teresa was facing a devastating spiritual crisis. She felt God was silent. Her personal letters, published posthumously, revealed the depth of her spiritual suffering. She described her soul as a place of deep darkness. It was during this period that she visited a Benedictine monastery in Italy and met an elderly monk who was an expert in ancient languages. He perceived her suffering and gave her a scroll with a prayer in Aramaic. At the top of the scroll was written, Ephphatha, may God's ears be opened to you, and may your ears be opened to God. Mother Teresa began whispering Ephphatha every day at 3 in the morning, asking that the door between her and God would open again. In her later letters, she never described a dramatic mystical experience. She never said she heard God's audible voice, but she wrote, "The darkness didn't disappear, but now I know God is in the darkness with me. The door wasn't closed. I was just on the wrong side of it." These stories aren't in the church's official books, they're not in the catechisms, they're not in Sunday sermons, but they exist, whispered from generation to generation among those who know that true faith is not performative religion. It's real power, tested in real furnaces, by real people who dared to believe that an ancient word still carries the same power it carried when it left Jesus' lips 2,000 years ago. So here we are, you and me, at the end of this journey that began with a Franciscan monk in 1947 and reached you now, at this exact moment, in this exact place. The real question isn't whether Ephphatha works. The real question is, will you have the courage to try? Because here's the naked truth nobody wants to admit. Most people prefer to live with closed doors than risk believing in something that might disappoint. It's safer to remain skeptical. It's more comfortable to say prayer doesn't work than to pray with genuine faith and deal with the possibility that maybe you're not worthy. Maybe God doesn't care. Maybe you're alone in this cold and indifferent universe. But what if you're not alone? What if there really is a God who cares enough to whisper a word of power in the ears of a deaf man 2,000 years ago, and that same word still resonates through time and space, waiting for someone, anyone, to have enough faith to whisper it back? I can't prove this to you. Father Bellini couldn't prove it. Maria Adelaide couldn't prove it. Ricardo couldn't prove it. All they could do was share their stories and let you decide. But let me tell you one last thing before you close this video and go back to your normal life. Closed doors are not God's punishment. Closed doors are invitations to faith. Every locked door in your life is there, not because God wants to punish you, but because there's something on the other side of that door that requires a more mature, stronger, more God-dependent version of you to possess. Do you want the door to open now? Of course you do. Everyone wants instant solutions, but God is more interested in transforming you than giving you things. And sometimes, transformation happens in the process of waiting for the door to open. In the process of whispering Ephphatha night after night. In the process of learning that your faith is not transactional, it's relational. So when you whisper Ephphatha tonight, at 3 in the morning, or at 6 in the morning, or at noon, or at 3 in the afternoon, or at 9 at night, do it not as someone trying to hack the divine system. Do it as someone saying, God, I trust you know which doors should be opened and when. I surrender to your timing. I surrender to your wisdom. But I also claim the authority Jesus gave me through this word. I claim my right to ask. I claim my right to seek. I claim my right to knock. Because Jesus said, ask and you will receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. He didn't say maybe. He didn't say possibly. He didn't say if you're good enough. He said, it will be opened. And Ephphatha is how you knock. So knock. Whisper the word Jesus whispered. And then, here's the most important part. Don't wait sitting down. Act. Do what you can do while God does what only He can do. You don't control when the door opens, but you control whether you're ready to walk through it when it opens. The secret prayers that monks, saints, and mystics used for centuries to attract prosperity, protection, and divine power are waiting for you. These aren't common prayers you find anywhere. They're prayers kept in Vatican archives, translated from ancient manuscripts, tested by generations of people who saw real miracles. Click the link in the bio now. Access the complete secret prayers. Learn not just Ephphatha but the other 7 power prayers that walk hand in hand with it. Learn when to use each one. Learn how to combine them for specific situations. Learn the exact protocols that transformed beggars into kings and kings into saints. Your life is about to change, but only if you have the courage to act. The doors are waiting. If